Chapter 141. Let it go. Let it go. Let it go. The two cries of myriad suns, soaring to the heavens, erupted almost at the same instant. Each crimson sun behind Qian Renxue transformed into a colossal crimson-gold meteor and plummeted toward Tang. At the same moment, the whole ocean rose in a vast swell. Where fire met water, crimson sun against azure wave, true sun fire against true lunar water, angel god against sea god, two utterly opposed yet equally mighty forces collided. The result would be decided by sheer absolute power. There was no room for trickery now. Both Tang San and Qian Renxue poured everything they had into the clash. Crimson gold met azure blue with a roar that shook the Douluo Continent. Even a city 300 li away watched the spectacle in clear detail. The earth trembled as if the world might rupture, and civilians there panicked. In the end, the crimson suns failed to evaporate the azure waves. Instead, the endless blue light swallowed the countless meteors. Qian Renxue was swept upward by that azure tide, disbelief and shock on her face, but the waves were warm. Enveloped by the gentle ocean light, fatigue and drowsiness crept over her as if sleep there would be bliss. She bit her tongue until blood appeared, and a burst of crimson gold flared from her angelic divine armor. Fighting the drowsiness, she shot straight up and finally broke through the azure ring, streaking into the high heavens. Yet in the sweep of the ocean, her divine force and divine sense had been heavily depleted, so much that she hadn't realized the loss until she was free. The sky remained gold, the angelic domain, and the earth remained blue, the sea god domain. Neither god could destroy the other's domain, they only used them to amplify their divine techniques. Strange, isn't it? Tang Sen opened his eyes and smiled up at Qian Renxue. He did not strike again. Qian Renxue stared coldly back, lips pressed thin, her angelic divine force spinning desperately, ready to launch another blow. Actually, it's not strange, Tang Sen said. The reason I can muster more power than you, we're both gods, yes, but our paths are different. Just as you can call on the sun, I can call on the ocean. In this exchange, the advantage I had came down to one thing, the gap in our divine sense. Mobilizing external power depends on divine sense. Your divine sense is weaker, so the sun you call is weaker than the ocean I call. How could you possibly defeat me? That's nonsense, Qian Renxue snapped. We're both gods. Why should my divine sense be inferior? She glared, trying to catch any sign of exhaustion in him to see if he had reached his limit, but she was disappointed. Her divine sense couldn't lock on to Tang San. His sea god force remained steadfast, sinking into the earth like an anchor. Tang San smiled calmly. You can't deny it. We are both gods, but my road to godhood was harsher. My mental force is higher. Even when I first became a titled Douluo, my mental force could match a peak 99th level Douluo. Qian Renxue, you are not my match. Her face went expressionless. She forced herself not to listen. Each of his words gnawed at her confidence. She raised the angelic sacred sword once more, and countless golden rays descended. The crimson gold around her shifted into pure gold. A new quality of energy flowed over her angelic divine armor like liquid light. With a cry, she gripped the hilt and charged straight at Tang San. He did not hesitate. With a faint beat of the sea god's 8 wings on his back, he rose into the air. The sea god trident pointed forward, meeting her charge. Their bodies passed, and only after they had swapped positions did a sharp explosion ring out. Tang San rocked in the air and steadied himself with his wings. Qian Renxue, having landed her strike, did not relent. Spinning in midair, the angelic sacred sword produced a cascade of golden halos that converged on Tang San. Large-scale techniques were ineffective, so near the ocean, Qian Renxue realized she would have to win at close quarters. Then a blue light shot from Tang San's hand, and his voice, low and compelling, echoed in her ear. Guanyin's tear. Those 4 words threw Qian Renxue's angelic sacred sword into turmoil. The attacking golden halos snapped back. Her body spun uncontrollably, her upward momentum reversed as she began to fall earthward. Fear touched her delicate features. Tang San watched her panic and smiled faintly. The blue light quietly dissipated. With a sweep of the sea god trident, he sent ripples of aqua-blue light before him, the opening of the unfixed storm. Qian Renxue, seeing no immediate threat when her fall brought her near the ground, realized too late that she had been deceived. She halted and yelled, "You tricked me!" Tang San smiled. All's fair in war. Are you really that afraid of my Guanyin's tear? If so, how can you hope to defeat me? He sounded almost pitying. Leave this turbulent world. What's wrong with a peaceful life? Give up the spirit empire, and I won't trouble you. Maybe one day, in the god realm, free of mortal affairs, we can be friends. Qian Renshui laughed softly and shook her head. The despair that had flitted across her eyes vanished. A flash ran along the angelic sacred sword, and it slipped back into her being, withdrawn and silent. Looking at Tang San, she said quietly, Tang San, you are truly strong. But compared to the uncle I admire, you are nothing. Don't try to sway me. My uncle taught me long ago that failure isn't the frightening thing. Pride is. I know I'm not your match, and I've accepted it. I won't attack you again. I have a future. You don't. Tang San's gaze turned cold, as though some personal pride had been broken. Except for Qian Xunan, he had always been the most outstanding presence. Before Qian Xunan, he had always felt unequal. From his distant vantage, Qian Xunan watched Qian Renshui and nodded slightly. Qian Xunan had long recognized that Qian Renshui could never beat Tang San. Her heart had never let go of the old defeat. Everything she did aimed at avenging that loss. With such a narrow focus, how could she have broader, truer belief? Tang San had been right. A god's power rests on belief. The stronger the belief, the greater the divine sense and the more external power one can draw. The sea god could call the ocean. The angel god was not limited to the sun. He could call the sky, the universe, billions of stars, even the power of space. Qian Renshui's belief was too limited, her divine sense too narrow. That was why she was weaker than Tang San. Qian Renshui's role was over. From now on, she would withdraw behind the scenes and direct. She returned to the camp and found Qian Xunan. Uncle, I've disappointed you, she said. Qian Xunan shook his head. No, this time I'm very satisfied. Your ability to let go will help you improve a great deal. As for Tang San, leave him to me. Okay, nodded. End of chapter. Tang San stood clad in blue-gold armor, 8 magnificent wave-patterned wings unfolding behind him. He wore the sea god helmet and gripped the sea god trident. Seeing the angel god felled by sea god Tang San, the Heaven Do Empire's morale surged. Shui Beng, perched on his warhorse, was so overjoyed he almost swooned. He drew his emperor's sword in a sudden, frantic motion and shouted to the sky, "The sea god descends! Long live King Lan Hao!" By invoking "Long live," Shui Beng effectively placed Tang San on equal footing with himself, if not above him. It was an extraordinary claim, but Tang San's arrival felt like the precursor to another miraculous reversal. With him at their center, the million-strong Heaven Do forces had a backbone. This battle was no longer a suicide rush, but a real chance to annihilate the enemy. Long live the sea god! Long live King Lan Hao! The cry rolled across the army. The Heaven Do troops advanced, step by step. With each step, the azure light above them moved forward as well, covering the advance and pressing down on the golden light of their enemies, forcing it to shrink back. Ordinary soldiers could not gauge the true strength of spirit powers. To them, the golden light from Jialing Pass was startling, but the blue light Tang San released was by no means weaker. On Jialing Pass, the century-old gold crocodile Douluo watched the enemy press in and felt his anger flare. "Spirit masters below level 80, fall back. The rest follow me. Wipe these ignorant brats out," he roared. As the old saying went, soldier against soldier, general against general. If Tang San and Qian Renshui were king against king, now the clash to come would be general against general. Jialing Pass closed in. "Leave those 6 revered elders to us. The rest are for you seniors." Dai Mubai bellowed. With a wild roar, he hit his 7th spirit ring. His body swelled, golden fur erupting across him, and in an instant he became a giant tiger, more than 10 meters long, each hair standing like a golden needle. 9 spirit rings shone across his form, the final blood-red 100,000-year ring radiating a breathtaking presence. His eyes brimmed with savage intensity. With a powerful thrust of his hind legs, he cleared the moat and became the first to pounce toward the top of the city wall. At the same moment, a clear phoenix cry split the air. Brilliant red light flared up in tandem with Dai Mubai's leap, heralding Ma Hongjun's spirit avatar, the 9-fire phoenix. 9 phoenixes screamed in the sky, their vast wings stirring hot gusts. Pink light burst from the avatar, and within that pink glow, Xiao Wu's body expanded. Her spirit avatar didn't turn her into a rabbit. Instead, 6 pink illuminated clones of her formed around her, guarding her as the striking figures launched toward the wall. In the flash of that assault, 7 figures, 5 of the Shrek members and Xiao Wu's multiples, simultaneously leapt. Ningrongrong, last to move, paused at the moat's edge. The 9-treasure glazed tile pagoda she held swelled to true size in an instant, towering 13 meters. Ningrongrong herself slipped quietly inside. When held small, the pagoda had meant little to most, but enlarged 100-fold, it became the battlefield's focal point. The spirit rings grew with it. Each of the 9 magnificent rings became over 10 meters across, a dazzling spectacle, especially the final blood-red ring that proclaimed the strength of a 100,000-year spirit ring to the Spirit Empire masters on the wall. Master Ning Fengji's eyes glittered as he watched. He felt as if his own retirement had finally come. Ningrongrong's pagoda had reached its final stage, 9 rings, the dream of every clan member of the 7-treasure glazed tiles school realized through his daughter. Without hesitation, Ning Fengji produced another pagoda, though only 7 layers with dimmer light. Its sudden presence on the battlefield was no less shocking. The instant Ningrongrong's 9-treasure divine light body protection completed, she demonstrated what the top support sect and its top support spirit master could do. 30 dazzling, multicolored beams burst from the transformed pagoda. The first 6 spirit rings lit simultaneously, and 30 rays, 6 falling on each of the 5 Shrek devils and Xiao Wu's main body, amplified them. The Shrek 5 devils surged under those lights. Their strength, agility, spirit power, defense, offense, every attribute was magnified. Daimubai, leading the charge, felt a sheet of red light erupt from his right leg and ripple through his body, finally solidifying in his fierce eyes. His aura went wild. The power he wielded when he released his spirit avatar was terrifying, rivaling even the strongest gold crocodile Douluo. The others changed too under the amplification. The illusory figure shadowing Daimubai was Zhu King, the hell Douluo, her form even more ethereal, like black smoke coiling around him. Oscar surged into an offensive role. Though his duplication mirror sausage usually amplified his sausage making, now he unceremoniously released all of Daimubai's support skills at once. White Tiger Vajra transformation, White Tiger Demonic God transformation, White Tiger Barrier, and even his spirit avatar. Ma Hongjin, already aloft, turned the top of Jieling Pass into a sheet of flame with his 5th ability, Phoenix Meteor Rain. Massive fireballs crashed down, the first wave of attack. The Spirit Empire's 14 titled Douluo reacted. One water-attributed titled Douluo immediately separated and unleashed a wide-area defensive skill. Booms rolled like thunder as violent roars and flying sparks filled the air. The vast majority of the meteors were blocked by Gold Crocodile Douluo. Only a few hit among the Spirit Masters of the Spirit Empire, injuring some level 80-plus Douluo, but not enough to cripple their fighting strength. In midair, the 9 Fire Phoenix's eyes brimmed with cold killing intent, fixed on the gold crocodile. All 9 wings rose together with a piercing cry, and it dove, phoenix flames blazing, to strike him. Black and gold, illusion and reality, the 2 streams of light completed their fusion in a heartbeat. The already enormous white tiger swelled again, as if stretching. The golden light vanished. Daimubai's fur went milk white and crystal-like. A terrifying white tiger, its body carved from some milky crystal and over 30 meters long, suddenly appeared, 2 wings sprouting from its back. As those wings beat, its upward momentum grew, and a brilliant white halo burst forth. Black markings marred its flank, and a huge king character emblazoned its forehead. Its 2 tiger eyes, each 100 meters across, glowed faintly red, sending a chill through even the revered elders of the Spirit Empire. Daimubai was no fool. He knew what assaults he'd face by being first over the wall. Zhu Zuqing knew too. At the start of this fierce strike, they released one of the Shrek 7 Devils' strongest techniques, apart from sea god Tang San, forming the Hell White Tiger. With unstoppable momentum, the Hell White Tiger smashed into the wall. A single lash of its 30-meter body sent at least 5 titled Douluo flying. With a savage roar toward the sky, the Hell White Tiger did not turn to slaughter the other Spirit Empire masters on the wall. No one expected that the instant it landed, it would lunge straight for the gold crocodile Douluo. Ma Hongjun's aerial onslaught and the Hell White Tiger's ground assault converged, striking from two sides. The others on the wall could not reach Gold Crocodile Douluo in time. The Hell White Tiger and Ma Hongjun had executed a flawless combined air-ground strike. Gold Crocodile Douluo was forced to bear both attacks at once. Despite the many spirit masters of the Spirit Empire posted on Jialing Pass's wall, Gold Crocodile Douluo felt utterly isolated and helpless in that moment, a bitter, agonizing helplessness. Chapter 143: Creating Gods. At this critical moment, Gold Crocodile Douluo unleashed the full force befitting the Spirit Empire's former second high priest, second only to Qian Douluo. His scales bristled and his massive form swayed violently, each movement throwing off illusory golden after images that made it impossible for Daimubai and Ma Hongjun to lock onto him. Then, with a sudden twist, the crocodile retracted his tail to his jaws and bit it, turning his whole body into a closed ring. His hardest scales faced outward, shielding the softer parts inside, and he began to spin like a giant fiery wheel. Light flared from his spirit rings as he launched himself off the city wall and charged through the air at Ma Hongjun. Ma Hongjun swore under his breath. He did not aim his 9 flames at Gold Crocodile Douluo. He turned them inward, wrapping his own body in surging phoenix fire. His wings folded around him, and he curled into a ball. With no hint of evasion, he met the attack head-on. The impact sent the fiery meteor of the 9-flame phoenix rocketing skyward. In midair, Ma Hongjun could no longer maintain his 9-flame phoenix true body and reverted to human form, blood gushing from his mouth. Clearly, grievously wounded. His face went as pale as paper, yet the blow had been worth the cost. Ma Hongjun had poured everything he could into that single strike. The spinning Gold Crocodile Douluo was stalled for a moment by the collision. Scorching flames licked across his body, and his charging momentum evaporated. It was at that instant the Hell White Tiger struck. With a thunderous impact, a massive tiger claw tore into the crocodile's flank. Gold Crocodile's true body was huge, but beside the Hell White Tiger, over 30 meters long, it was comparatively small. The tiger claw carried the amplifying power of the resilient golden fly, and Daimubai, who had been building momentum for this strike, completed it with brutal force. The crocodile's spin was broken. Half his body slammed into the city wall. "Dare to hurt my brother, and I'll destroy you," Daimubai roared through the Hell White Tiger. A blinding sphere of white light erupted from the tiger and smashed into Gold Crocodile Douluo. Already reeling from Ma Hongjun's sacrifice, the crocodile could only endure. He could not dodge the tiger's blow. Stars exploded behind his eyes. Blood spurted from his mouth and nose. He unleashed his full 98th level spirit power and hammered his spirit abilities into protecting his body, but the retaliation was devastating. A white explosion ripped open the Jialing Pass wall, blasting a massive gap. Scales and stone flew in all directions. Even the Heavendew Empire forces, still far from the pass, heard the crocodile's muffled groan. Gold Crocodile Douluo was blasted back into human form, his hulking scales scattered like broken armor. Multiple parts of his body were mangled and bloody. He spat mouthfuls of blood and could only gasp in pain. Embedded in the stone, his face twisted grimly. This was surely a state he had never before known. Xiao Wu's side of the assault had its own fury. 4 of her 9 clones were shattered on the wall, but 5 reached the top and condensed into 5 red spirit true bodies, each engaging a spirit Douluo. Against a titled Douluo, she might not finish one blow, but against spirit Douluo far below her level, her power was terrifying. 5 bursts of crimson light flashed, and 5 instant-kill 8-stage drops were completed in an instant. Any spirit Douluo hit by one of those drops, even Tang San, would likely be left bleeding and shredded. Xiao Wu's main body raced to the top of the wall with terrifying speed. Never forget her 2 life-saving techniques: Instant Shift and Paragon Golden Body. With the Paragon Golden Body, she surged to the wall, second only to the Hell White Tiger. A dizzying sequence of instant shifts followed, and 4 high-level spirit Douluo found their necks twisted and their bodies flung aside by her. Her actions drew the attention of the Spirit Empire's heavyweights. The third High Priest, Azure Luan, flashed forward to intercept. A faint smile touched Xiao Wu's face. With an instant shift, she slipped back, and at the same time, a red sphere left her hand, falling among the Spirit Empire's elite. "Be careful," a titled Douluo from the Spirit Empire cried. He had seen this before. The red object was the second of 3 Buddha's Fury Tang lotuses, crafted by divine craftsman Lu Gao, a terrifying area effect Tang sect hidden weapon. But Xiao Wu was not finished. While one hand had thrown the Tang lotus, the other flicked and produced a slender cylindrical device. Brilliant, peacock-like light blossomed on the Jialing Pass wall, an exquisite fan of radiance, beautiful to all but one, the third high priest charging straight into it. Having unleashed the Buddha's Fury Tang lotus, Xiao Wu now released the peacock plume, a single-target hidden weapon of equal ferocity. Dozens upon dozens of long razor needles shot toward Azure Luan. He hastily covered himself with his wings, but the needles still pierced him with soft chi-chi-chi sounds. In a blink, Xiao Wu materialized before him, and with her supple close combat skill, struck. Azure Luan Douluo was sent flying down, crashing onto the ground badly injured. A stunned silence fell over both armies. 2 of the Spirit Empire's 6 most powerful consecrated elders on the wall had just been taken out by the Shrek 7 devils. It was not only a perfect opening, it would shake the balance of the entire battle. End of chapter. 144. One man can destroy a nation. One man can destroy a nation. Right then the hell-white tiger held firm against the blows of 2 consecrated elders. Ma Hongjin, dropping down from the sky, tangled with another. Of the 6 great consecrated elders, only one remained free. That didn't even count Xiao Wu's 5 remaining clones, which had already pinned down a titled Douluo who wasn't a consecrated elder. The Shrek 7 devils were pouring everything into the fight. The giant clear sky hammer found its mark against the last consecrated elder. Tang Xiao, sect master of the Clear Sky sect, swung his hammer with brutal force. One strike forced that consecrated elder to fall back. If Tang Xiao had moved, how could Clear Sky Douluo Tang Hao stay idle? With a sweep of the great Sumeru hammer, he ensnared 3 enemy-titled Douluo. Sword Douluo Chen Xin and Bone Douluo Gu Rong, cooperating, encircled 4 more. In that instant, the dark host of the Heaven Dew Empire tipped the balance. From the city wall, Xuebang couldn't see every twist of the fighting, but the sight of so many of their heavy hitters deployed was enough. On the whole, they were not losing. At least for the moment, they could hold. Raising the Son of Heaven's sword high, Xuebang bellowed, "All soldiers, charge!" The battlefield erupted. Arrows rained like a storm, and the conflict blazed white-hot. Xuebang, Ningfengji, and the others let joy show on their faces. Xuebang glanced at Ningfengji and cried, "Grand Tutor, with teacher Tang San here, the Heaven Dou Empire will win this day." Ningfengji nodded, firm. Qian Xunan hasn't made his move yet, but if little San can hold him off, then the rest of us can decide the outcome. Tang Xiao's eyes burned with zeal as he watched the Spirit Empire falter. He laughed, half mad with triumph. "Ha! The final victor will be us, Spirit Hall, Spirit Empire. I want you torn to pieces to honor the souls of the Clear Sky sect." High above, in a tent pitched on an aerial platform, Qian Renshui stood beside Qian Xunan. Seeing the Shrek 7 devils press the great consecrated elders so fiercely, she said, "Uncle, they all seem to have divine force now. They've become so strong that even the great consecrated elders are struggling." Qian Xunan nodded. For ordinary fighters, a little divine force changes everything. The Shrek 7 have it, so their progress is explosive. But it also gave me a new idea. "What idea?" Qian Renshui asked. Qian Xunan smiled faintly. "If a mere sea god can create such powerful titled Douluo, even gods, why can't we?" Qian Renshui's eyes widened. Creating gods, the thought was terrifying. She had never considered it. Her uncle's mind was already far beyond the present war. "Uncle, you mean?" Qian Shunan's gaze was calm. "After this battle, we must prepare for a divine war. Are you saying we're going to confront the gods of the God realm?" Qian Renshui stared. "Yes," Qian Xunan replied. "Before Sea God died, he told me many secrets. Angel God told me many others. Most of this traces back to Asura God's designs. Gods of the God realm cannot casually descend to the lower world. Tang San is Sea God's successor and heir to Asura God. If we kill Tang San here, the God realm will not simply stand aside." "So we can't kill Tang San?" Qian Renshui asked. "No," Qian Xunan said. "We can kill Tang San, but we must be ready to face the God realm itself." Qian Renshui's disbelief was plain. "Uncle, Can you and I withstand the God Realm's armies? Qian Xunan shook his head. They are not united. They won't pour out a single overwhelming force. From what I know, God of Destruction and Asura are at odds. God of Kindness and God of Evil are traveling the world and won't return soon. God of Life tends to avoid entanglements. With God of Destruction restraining Asura, even Asura cannot act alone. Does that mean the God of Destruction will be our ally? She asked. No, Qian Xunan replied. The entire God Realm will be our enemy. It's only that their internal constraints buy me time to grow stronger. He paused, eyes distant. After I killed Sea God, I had an epiphany. I gained many insights. Give me time, and even if Asura and Destruction unite against us, I would not fear them. Not that I cannot befriend them. I can use them. Qian Renshui's astonishment deepened. To plan a war against the gods themselves, scheming to manipulate them, this was beyond any small human quarrel she'd imagined. She asked quietly, Uncle, what is it that you truly seek? Qian Xunan lifted his gaze to the sky. I once thought I wanted only to return to the Douluo Continent. I did. Then I sought to avenge your father. I did that too. Afterward, I was lost. I believed for a time that expanding Spirit Hall was my goal. But when I learned of the God Realm and that gods scheme like humans, I understood. Gods are simply more powerful humans. I understood what I truly want. I seek transcendence. Transcendence? Qian Renshui echoed. I want to transcend everything, not be bound by human laws or God Realm rules. I once broke through the world barrier to return to the Douluo Continent. Now I want to break through the barrier of the Douluo Continent, break through the God Realm's barrier, and see a far larger world. Qian Renshui nodded slowly. Qian Xunan turned back to the fight below. All right, order them to retreat. It's time to end this battle. Retreat? Qian Renshui frowned. Then what about? Qian Xunan smiled, cold and confident. I alone am enough. The words stunned even Qian Renshui, the angel god herself. In the next instant, his figure flickered and vanished from before her. She stood there, stunned, whispering to the empty air. Is Uncle going to destroy a nation by himself? Chapter 145. The Spirit Hall is at a disadvantage. On the battlefield, the Spirit Hall was slipping into a bad position. Golden Crocodile Douluo and Azure Luan Douluo were already wounded. Tianjun Douluo and Jiangmo Douluo, injured earlier by Tang San, had lost much of their combat effectiveness. Tang Xiao was locked in a fierce contest with Mad Lion Douluo. Their strengths matched so closely that no clear victor had emerged. Across the field, Radiant Feather Douluo faced the titled Douluo Ma Hongjun. Radiant Feather's martial soul was the Radiant Feather Arrow, while Ma Hongjun wielded the Evil Fire Phoenix, both long-range fighters who sent soul skills cutting across the battlefield, inflicting heavy damage on anyone caught between them. Meanwhile, Sword Douluo Chenshin and Bone Douluo Gurong were taking on Spirit Hall's 4 titled Douluo, Spiny Porcupine, Snake Lance, Ghost Leopard, and Holy Dragon. With Chen Xin and Gu Rong's cooperation and Ning Fengji's support, the two sides were evenly matched. It seemed the whole battle had distilled into a contest between titled Douluo. Whoever's titled Douluo held the advantage would dominate. Tang Xiao roared and brought his massive, clear sky hammer down hard on Mad Lion Douluo. Mad Lion erupted with crimson soul power and met the blow with both fists. The earth-shattering collision sent a shock through both of them. Mad Lion's body trembled. Good kid, you've got terrifying power, Mad Lion admitted as he looked at his right arm, eyes wide. That strike had drawn everything Tang Xiao had. Even at his peak, Mad Lion might not have guaranteed victory. Such was the might of the clear sky hammer. Tang Xiao detonated his rings, unleashing the great Sumeru hammer. The colossal clear sky hammer descended, aimed straight for Mad Lion. Mad Lion leapt to avoid it. Then a thunderous impact rang out as he suddenly chose to take the strike head-on. Tang Xiao's face lit with joy. He was certain now Mad Lion's defense had reached its limit. The hammer should have been enough to shatter the other's protective aura. But Mad Lion unleashed a terrifying surge of energy. His body swelled, growing monstrously large. A deafening explosion followed, a violent shockwave tearing through everything for hundreds of meters and filling the air with dust. Trees toppled and rocks cascaded. The mountain itself seemed to shudder. Both Tang Xiao and Mad Lion were hurled backward, crashing to the ground. Mad Lion's chest was crushed inward. He struggled to rise, face ashen, and for the moment seemed unable to continue the fight. In truth, Mad Lion's strength was not inferior to Tang Xiao's. What tipped the balance was Ning Rongrong, successor of the nine-colored goddess. With her amplification, Mad Lion found himself disadvantaged against Tang Xiao. On the other flank, Ma Hongjun and Radiant Feather Douluo waged a savage duel. Radiant Feather fired arrow after arrow of light, but Ma Hongjun countered with phoenix meteor showers, each meteor containing devastating power, each capable of killing a Soul Master outright. A spray of blood appeared on Ma Hongjun, a small wound pocking his body. Yet he sneered at Radiant Feather. "Old Radiant Feather," he taunted, "today you'll see true power." Ma Hongjun's crimson soul power erupted. He seemed to become a living phoenix. The incoming light arrows stalled as countless phoenix phantoms condensed around him, coalescing into a vast phoenix blade. Terrifying phoenix cries echoed as phantoms filled the sky, blocking out sun and sky and hungrily closing in on Radiant Feather. Feathers of light shot toward him, each a killing blow. Radiant Feather's face went pale, and he vanished in a flicker, trying to escape. Ma Hongjun reacted with a fiery red tail coiling in his right hand, blazing with intolerable heat. The tail swept after Radiant Feather. Radiant Feather tried to dodge, but Ma Hongjun closed the distance, his long whip lashing out to wrap around Radiant Feather's waist. With a brutal whip kick, Ma Hongjun struck Radiant Feather's chest. The sternum cracked and blood spurted. Radiant Feather screamed and was thrown backward, collapsing hard to the ground. Ma Hongjun looked down with contempt. "Still want to contend with me?" he jeered. Radiant Feather spat blood, life hanging by a thread. Back where Chen Xin and Gu Rong fought, the two combined their strengths to hammer at Spirit Hall's four-titled Douluo. Chen Xin's sword chi slashed in lethal arcs, while Gu Rong used his extending bones to form an impenetrable front, turning aside counterattacks. Ning Fengji stood behind them, steadily amplifying their power. Together the three surged to overwhelming force, pressing the four elders into a desperate defense. Ning Fengji's sword found a gap and pierced one, titled Douluo through the shoulder, blood spraying as his body staggered back. Chen Xin drove another blade of sword Qi, the seven-kill sword Qi, through another elder. One by one, the Spirit Hall titled Douluo were cut down. The sheer ferocity of Chen Xin and Gu Rong, bolstered by Ning Fengji, proved terrifyingly effective. Their coordination left the four elders broken and defeated. When the dust settled, all four Spirit Hall titled Douluo lay fallen. The combined might of Sword Douluo Chen Xin, Bone Douluo Gu Rong, and Ning Fengji had been simply too much to withstand. 146. Angelic moment. On the battlefield, the Spirit Empire was collapsing. Angel God Qian Renxue had been defeated. Gold Crocodile Douluo, Azure Luan Douluo, Mad Lion Douluo, Light Feather Douluo, Thousand June Douluo, and Demon Subduing Douluo all fell. The four titled Douluo elders, Holy Dragon, Ghost Leopard, Porcupine Fish, and Snake Lance, were likewise beaten. The scene had become one-sided. With Tang San and his companions present, the Spirit Empire's fortunes were waning, and the Heaven Du Empire was steadily seizing the advantage. The Spirit Empire troops' morale plummeted. They were no longer the mighty force they once had been. Before the Heaven Du army's overwhelming strength, they could only be routed. From the sky came Qian Renshui's voice. "All Spirit Empire soldiers, retreat!" The command crushed whatever hope remained among the Spirit Empire ranks. They reluctantly pulled back. The titled Douluo, however, lay grievously wounded and could not withdraw. The Heaven Du troops erupted in joy, confidence blazing across their faces. "Did we win?" "Yes, victory," they shouted and cheered, watching the Spirit Empire forces fall back. "Long live the Heaven Du Empire! Long live the Sea God!" Even the badly wounded men raised their voices with the rest as the army surged forward like a tide, its might resonating across the plain. "Long live the Sea God!" They chanted, the cry shaking the heavens and drawing every eye. But in that exultation, nearly everyone overlooked one glaring absence. Qian Xunan, Supreme Pontiff of Spirit Hall. He had not appeared since the battle began. Tang Xiao turned to the Mad Lion Douluo with cold eyes. "Now no one can save you. Your Spirit Hall has lost." His clear sky hammer flared, divine radiance coalescing as he prepared to strike. The Mad Lion laughed, coarse and confident. "Ha! Celebrate all you like. Our Supreme Pontiff hasn't moved yet. Do you truly think you've won? Qian Xunan?" Tang Xiao barked. Do you think he can change anything now? He may have become a god, but don't forget, little San is a god too. Madline Douluo only laughed louder. Do you dare bet on that? His Holiness the Supreme Pontiff will turn the tide. Tang Xiao's expression hardened. Impossible. Your lives are ending here, and so is the future of your spirit hall. His hammer began to fall. Nearby, Daimubai glared at the prostrate gold crocodile Douluo and azure Luan Douluo, taunting them. You were so arrogant before. Why not kneel and beg for mercy? Beg, and I might spare you. The two titled Douluo's faces twisted. Even as they laughed, azure Luan Douluo said, You don't understand him. His absence must have a reason. Even if we die today, your Heaven Do Empire will not win. Daimubai sneered. Your spirit empire is already in retreat. I don't believe Qian Xunan can reverse this. Gold Crocodile shot back, contemptuous. You don't believe because you don't know him. Once you do, you'll see how terrifying he is. Then, with a roar, he demanded, Come on, give me a quick death. Lightfeather Douluo lay on the ground as Mahongjin leered down. Old dog Lightfeather, how's this young master's strength? He taunted. Lightfeather forced out a bitter sound. You only flourished under the sea god, the power he gave you. In the end, even our might cannot match a god. Mahongjin scoffed. You're just sour because you can't have it. Seeing you like this, I'll be merciful and send you on your way. He prepared his finishing strike. On the other flank, Sword Douluo Chenshin, Bone Douluo Gurong, and Ningfengji faced the four titled Douluo of Spirit Hall. The titled Douluo showed no fear. Do you think you've won? They taunted. Remember, our Supreme Pontiff hasn't moved. When he does, you will die. Ningfengji answered with cold fury. Even if we die, we'll take you with us. Another of the titled Douluo laughed wild and fierce. What's death to you? His Holiness will not spare you. Ningfengji signaled Sword Douluo. Uncle Sword, act! Sword Douluo Chenshin inclined his head. The 7-kill sword glinted, an icy arc prepared to sever the four. All sides teetered on the edge of slaughter. Tang San returned to Xuebang's side. Xuebang beamed. Thanks to you, teacher, we will win this war. Tang San only dipped his head slightly. Unease gnawed at him. Qian Xunan still had not shown himself. Your Majesty, be cautious. Qian Xunan hasn't moved. Nothing's certain yet. Xuebang waved him off with easy confidence. With your current strength, isn't stopping Qian Xunan trivial? Even if he has monstrous power, the Spirit Empire's momentum is gone. I don't believe he can turn the tide. It was hard to argue. Every Spirit Empire titled Douluo had been crushed. Angel God Qian Renshui had fallen and withdrawn. The army's retreat was organized but relentless. In those conditions, even Qian Xunan seemed incapable of reversing fortunes. Yet Tang San's unease would not leave him. He felt, instinctively, there was still a hidden card. Both sides readied their final moves to either kill or be killed. The titled Douluo braced, resigned to their fates. Then, without warning, a golden figure materialized high above the battlefield. He looked down with detached eyes and softly intoned, Law, angelic moment. 147, showdown. At that moment, the air seemed to fall utterly silent. An endless, angelic radiance washed over the battlefield, a golden brilliance so intense no one could keep their eyes open. The light itself felt like a blade tearing the world apart. Terrifying bands of gold shot into the sky, dyeing the heavens. Within that light, a majestic figure slowly took shape. An angelic giant, 1,000 jang tall, blazing with golden radiance, a pair of enormous golden wings spread wide as if to overwhelm the world itself. All the titled Douluo of the Spirit Empire dropped to their knees, trembling with reverence. The awe on their faces was plain. This was the majesty of a superior bloodline. Qian Xunan had finally made his move. The golden wings beat, a thunderous sound rolling out as Qian Xunan descended from the void. With every step, the surrounding air seemed to be torn apart. The oppressive force made everyone gasp. Tang San and the others watched, hearts sinking. Qian Xunan's aura was unexpectedly terrifying. Behind him, a pair of colossal golden wings unfolded, each tens of thousands of meters long, their feathers like blades flashing with a chilling gold as if they could slice through space itself. Embedded on Qian Xunan's back within the wings was a golden crown, gleaming with a sovereign light. Tang San's eyes flickered with apprehension. Angel's law? He had actually comprehended a law. After receiving the sea god's inheritance, Tang San had learned the laws of the god realm. In that realm, the greatest power came from laws, Each god had a law. The sea god's law was the power of the ocean. The angel god's law was the power of the heavens. Seeing Qian Xunan now, Tang San felt a chill run through him. Across the battlefield, everyone was frozen, completely motionless. The Heaven Do Empire soldiers, the Spirit Empire forces, even those who had been poised to strike the Spirit Empire's titled Douluo, all were immobile, as if time and space itself were under Qian Xunan's control. Tang San was the only one who could still move. Qian Xunan descended above the Spirit Empire ranks. His wings seemed capable of shredding everything. Countless golden rays lashed down. Tang San glanced at Shui Beng beside him. Shui Beng sat motionless on his warhorse, frozen like a corpse. Qian Xunan, what have you done? Tang San demanded, shooting up into the air to confront him, fury in his eyes. Qian Xunan regarded Tang San calmly. I underestimated you before, he said. I failed to eliminate you root and branch. I didn't expect you to attain a god position. That may have been my greatest miscalculation. Tang San's gaze went ice cold. Qian Xunan, do you know why I became a god? Qian Xunan's expression stayed composed. Because you were lucky, he answered. No, you're wrong. It wasn't luck. Everything I have is the result of my effort. Everything I do now has one purpose. Tang San's voice thundered. Why do you want to kill me? Qian Xunan asked, unconcerned. Why? Tang San spat. You killed my great-grandfather, my father, my teacher. You wiped out my Clear Sky sect, destroyed my Tang sect, murdered so many of my people. And you ask why I want to kill you. Aren't those reasons enough? Killing intent surged off Tang San like a palpable force, as if he could strike and finish Qian Xunan in the next breath. Qian Xunan's face was as calm as ancient stone. Have you ever thought why I killed them? He returned. Tang San sneered. Why should I care why you killed them? You murderous fiend. Killers don't need reasons. I do not kill indiscriminately. Qian Xunan's voice carried across the frozen field. I killed because they provoked me. Their deaths were only because they were not strong enough. The world is that way. The strong prey on the weak, and the strong are revered. If you are strong enough to kill me today, then even if I die, I will have no complaint. Of course, if you seek to kill me, I will naturally seek to kill you. Are you ready? Ready? Tang San's eyes burned. Since my father died, I have prepared every day for this. Everything I've done was to kill you. I will kill you, not only for myself, but for all the people of this world and for its righteousness. Tang San's aura flared. Brilliant golden light exploded from his eyes. His whole presence shifted, turned golden and spear-like. In a step, he closed the distance to Qian Xunan and unleashed a punch of crushing force. Qian Xunan did not cower. He raised his arms, and the twin golden wings carved through the void, sending out a beam of golden light. The two attacks collided with earth-shaking detonations. Roars poured out as storms radiated in every direction. Rocks shattered, the sky seemed rent, and black voids began to expand. Tang San's body was thrown back on a graceful arc before crashing hard into the ground. Blood trickled from the corner of his mouth. His body was battered and wounded. Qian Xunan remained untouched. Shh, this your power? Tang San laughed through blood. To kill me, this is far from enough. Qian Xunan's voice stayed cool. Your strength is considerable. A few months ago, you would have been difficult to kill. But now, before me, you are still an ant. Killing you would be like turning my hand. Is that so? I don't believe you, Tang San answered, battle intent flaring anew. His aura grew more intense. With a low roar, Tang San's body erupted in blue-gold flame. His white hair whipped as if in windless gale. His eyes burned like molten gold, and his garments smoldered and charred. The pressure of his aura was suffocating. Qian Xunan watched him coolly. Then, almost with amusement, he said, No, I've changed my mind. Making you suffer seems far more interesting than killing you. Execute them one by one. Execute them one by one. Tang San's fist clenched until his knuckles blanched. Rage burned in his eyes as he fixed Qian Xunan with a glare. What do you want? He demanded. Qian Xunan watched him calmly. You speak so often of family, friendship, love, and justice, he said. Do you even understand what justice is? Justice is fairness for people, Tang San shot back coldly. Your spirit hall bullies the weak and wages war, causing the people to suffer. That's evil. You are evil, and evil will never win over justice. Qian Xunan regarded him for a long moment. That's a fine speech, he said. It makes me wonder, Are you practicing true justice or merely putting on a show? Are those friendships, family ties, and love you praise sincere or simply tools for your own advancement? Tang San's face went ice cold. What are you trying to do? He snarled. You'll find out soon enough. Qian Xunan raised one hand and spoke softly. Angel law, binding. Golden chains of ordered light shot out, coiling around Tang San with merciless speed. They tightened like a noose, pinning him so securely his limbs felt as if crushed by a mountain. The chains even nailed his feet to the ground. Tang San struggled violently, but it was like a dragon trapping a worm. Every exertion was useless. Impossible pulling forces dragged at his body. The chains held him immovably. What trick is this, Qian Xunan? Tang San growled through gritted teeth. Nothing special, Qian Xunan replied coolly. I simply want you to see yourself. With a flick of will, the chains of order lifted Tang San into the air. He was utterly helpless. Around them, Qian Xunan's angel moment took hold. Everyone else caught in it was frozen, unable to move. Qian Xunan blurred into a motion after image and appeared instantly in front of Dai Mubai and Juju King. Both were still in their hell-white tiger forms, their power surging as they prepared to strike Gold Crocodile Douluo and Light Feather Douluo. Qian Xunan's eyes flicked. With that tiny motion, he unbound the two. Their hell-white tiger strike had already been launched and hurtled toward him. Qian Xunan smiled lightly as dazzling rays of light flared from his body. The impact came, thud, 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 and the two assaults were stopped dead. A faint golden membrane shimmered into being before Qian Xunan, intercepting Dai Mubai and Juju King's attacks. Dai Mubai and Juju King stared in stunned disbelief. Qian Xunan, they stammered. Terror filled their faces. Despite both having reached the titled Douluo level and even having overcome a spirit hall enshrined, they were nowhere near Qian Xunan's power. A single glance from him could annihilate them. Panic flared in their eyes. They had no idea what to do. Qian Xunan looked at them indifferently. My apologies, he said. The two you intended to kill are my uncles. If you slay them, I will be very inconvenienced. So I ask that you die first. Dai Mubai and Juju King went white with fright. Qian Xunan's gaze then shifted back to Tang San, who writhed desperately against the chains, twisting and turning to break free. He roared, Qian Xunan, you bastard! What do you want? Let them go. They're innocent. Innocent? Qian Xunan snorted. They chose to be my enemies. Do they expect a happy ending? Besides, they were trying to kill my uncles. If your strength is enough, even if you destroy our spirit hall, I will make no complaint, he continued. But if your strength is insufficient and you still dare to challenge me, you must accept the consequences. He pointed, and a sliver of fear flickered across Dai Mubai and Juju King's pupils. Their auras began to fluctuate violently, on the verge of bursting. Not good. Tang San's face went deadly serious. In a last desperate effort, Dai Mubai and Juju King poured out everything they had and unleashed the hell-white tiger's radiance once more. The barrage came like a storm, battering Qian Xunan's golden membrane. But a faint fluorescent glow condensed around him. His shield held. In Qian Xunan's hands, two blinding golden lights coalesced and began to shape. At the sight, Juju King and Dai Mubai's faces drained of color. Terror widened their eyes. Instinct told them to flee. They surged to break free, but Qian Xunan reached out, and the two golden lights merged into a massive sword of light that plunged through both of them. No! Tang San screamed, a sound choked with anguish. The binding held him fast. He could only watch as the sword cleaved their chests. Blood spurted in two crimson fountains. Their bodies convulsed and collapsed. Juju King was gone instantly. Dai Mubai coughed blood, his mouth and nose streaming. His eyes bulged in pain and disbelief. No, I don't want to die, he whimpered. His last breath left him with a final spatter of blood, and then his body went limp and still. Tang San staggered in spirit. Pain tore through him as he stared at his fallen friends, fury and helplessness warping his features. Qian Xunan, you monster, he spat through clenched teeth. I will kill you. I'll kill you. Qian Xunan watched him with cool contempt. You seem pained, he said, but I find no sorrow in your aura. Is it that you do not truly care and are merely putting on a show? Or perhaps I haven't killed enough yet? Chapter 149. Kill Ma Hongjin. Qian Xunan's voice rang out, cold and chilling, like a sound from the depths of the Nine Serenities' hell. Kill Mahongjin. At the words, Tang San's whole body trembled uncontrollably. Terror leapt into his eyes. Golden chains bound him tightly. No matter how he struggled, he could not break free. Qian Xunan took a single step and suddenly appeared in front of Mahongjin, who was about to strike at Light Feather Douluo. Qian Xunan released the restraints on Mahongjin. Immediately, a terrifying blaze surged toward Qian Xunan. He merely waved his hand and a pale golden light shimmered over him, deflecting every attack as if they were nothing. Seeing Qian Xunan standing there, Mahongjin froze, horror written across his face. How? How is this possible? When did you get here? Mahongjin stammered, trembling. Qian Xunan's voice was indifferent. Your opponent is me. A golden rune flared across his forearms. Qian Xunan stomped down with his right foot and charged, sending a fist smashing into Mahongjin. Boom! The impact echoed through the air. Mahongjin cried out as pain knifed through his chest and his body flew backward. Qian Xunan's power was overwhelming, cruelly absolute. Tang San, watching helplessly, shouted, Qian Xunan, don't kill him. You can't kill him. You've already killed Juqing and Mubai. Don't kill him too. Qian Xunan paused for a heartbeat at those words. A faint, almost playful smile creased his mouth. Oh, if you tell me not to kill, then I won't, he said, voice flat as stone. Mahongjin's arrogance vanished. He collapsed to the ground, prostrating himself before Qian Xunan. Your Holiness the Supreme Pontiff, spare my life. I was wrong, spare me. Please, kill me if you must. But if you spare me this once, I'll do anything you ask, he begged, kowtowing until his forehead bled, his face streaked with blood and dust. Qian Xunan seemed not to notice the blood. He stepped forward and lifted his foot to crush Mahongjin's head. No, Tang San roared, but it was too late. The foot came down. There was a sickening, final sound as Mahongjin's skull was crushed. Blood and brain matter spattered the ground. Tang San's body convulsed and tears streamed down his face. Despair and indignation warped his features, but the chains held him immobile, and all he could do was watch Mahongjin's body go limp at Qian Xunan's feet. A titled Douluo, shattered like an insect underfoot. I'm not reconciled. I'm truly not reconciled. Tang San cried to the sky, grief breaking his voice. Qian Xunan ignored him. With another blink, another teleportation, he reappeared before Sword Douluo and Bone Douluo. The two had just joined forces and were about to strike at the four. Titled Douluo Elders of Spirit Hall, when Qian Xunan materialized before them, instantly freeing them from whatever restraints had held them. They took in Qian Xunan's presence with expressions gone cold and wary. Qian Xunan, Bone Douluo and Sword Douluo said in unison, tension flaring in their eyes. Qian Xunan looked at them without speaking. Words were unnecessary. Since they had chosen enmity with Spirit Hall, he had no compunction about razing the 7-treasure glazed tile school to the ground. The two titled Douluo exchanged a glance and, in that instant, made their decision. They launched themselves at Qian Xunan. White bones erupted from Bone Douluo, transforming into skeletal soldiers that surged from the darkness to swarm Qian Xunan. The army of bone crashed into the Supreme Pontiff with furious force. Energy roared off Qian Xunan's body, but the skeletons were no match. He extended a finger and tapped the battlefield. In an instant, a terrifying force radiated out, shattering the skeletal soldiers into dust. Sword Douluo's longsword flared with murderous light, an enormous blade of pure spirit energy slicing downward with destructive intent. Qian Xunan's pupils flickered at the sight. In the same instant, he stamped the ground and vanished from where he had stood. The sword light struck the earth where he had been, gouging the ground with its power. Shock crossed both titled Douluo's faces. Qian Xunan had dodged their combined onslaught. He reappeared calmly, a step away, and began to walk toward them. Seeing their strike fail, Bone Douluo and Sword Douluo unleashed everything they had. Wave after wave of spirit power tore at Xunan, but he merely waved his hand and neutralized them all. Explosions rocked the air as each attack disintegrated into dust. The two stood, grim and solemn. They had not expected him to recover so quickly or to be this overwhelmingly powerful. They took positions, one to his left and one to his right, and prepared to stop him. Qian Xunan's voice was quiet and final. Die. He extended a finger. A purple glow gathered at the tip, hard and cold. In an instant, a bolt of purple lightning lashed out toward Bone Douluo. The titled Douluo's face went ashen. He threw every ounce of spirit power into forming a white bone shield in front of him, an ironclad defense meant to withstand the strike. Boom! Qian Xunan's attack smashed through the bone shield as if it were paper. Bone Douluo, famed for his impregnable defenses, found himself powerless. The shield collapsed like glass. Before he could react, Qian Xunan's finger pierced straight through his chest and into his heart. Bone Douluo's expression turned to disbelief. "How?" he began, and then the light left his eyes. He crumpled, dead, to the ground before Qian Xunan. 150. Kill Tang Xiao. Seeing Bone Douluo dead, Sword Douluo's eyes went bloodshot. He roared, "How dare you kill him? I'll kill you! I'll kill you!" He charged Qian Xunan again. Sword Douluo unleashed a rain of sword qi into the sky, countless razor-like blades streaking toward Qian Xunan, each humming with deadly energy that should have torn him apart. The sword qi fell like a vertical storm. But Qian Xunan's body trembled, and a terrible crimson aura flared out from him. The blades struck that crimson shield and had no effect. His physical defenses were extraordinary. Ordinary sword qi couldn't break them. Sword Douluo stared in disbelief. He hadn't expected Qian Xunan to be so durable. "You're no match for me," Qian Xunan said coolly. He brought his fingers together, and a concentrated lance of sword qi shot straight for Sword Douluo's throat. Panicked, Sword Douluo swung his longsword to block. The blades rang. Sparks flew as Qian Xunan's strike slammed into the longsword and knocked it out of Sword Douluo's hands. He was hurled backward several steps. How can you be so strong?" Sword Douluo gasped, incredulous. Qian Xunan didn't answer. He struck again. Qian Xunan's fist blasted into Sword Douluo's chest. Energy rippled outward and sent him tearing through buildings before he finally came to a stop. With another crushing blow, Sword Douluo's chest collapsed. Blood spurted from his mouth, his eyes wide with disbelief. Qian Xunan's next sword strike caught his neck. With a clean, chilling sound, his head was severed and rolled away. The body thudded to the ground. Sword Douluo was dead, like Bone Douluo before him. Only Tang Xiao remained. Qian Xunan moved on. He released Tang Xiao from his bindings. Tang Xiao's eyes went bloodshot when he saw him. He had never expected Qian Xunan to appear. "Qian Xunan, you slaughtered the Clear Sky sect, 3,600 lives. Today I kill you and leave you unburied." Tang Xiao roared and lunged, hammer raised. The Clear Sky hammer came down with world-shaking force. Qian Xunan stopped the blow, but sent Tang Xiao flying through a string of buildings. Tang Xiao's furious cry split the air as he closed in again, moving far faster than before. He reformed the massive Clear Sky hammer and slammed it down like a meteor, an attack that carried the aura of annihilation itself. Qian Xunan's palms shot out and seized the hammer. He gave a low roar and summoned a crushing force. The Clear Sky hammer cracked under his grip and was shattered. With another swing, he flung the fragments away. The shockwave tore the ground into ravines and leveled the surrounding area. Tang Xiao's face drained of color, and he stumbled back. "After destroying the Clear Sky sect, I left behind scum like you. Today I'll finish you," Qian Xunan said quietly. He blurred into an afterimage and closed the distance in an instant. Tang Xiao trembled, pale. "You're not my match," he cried, but Qian Xunan's palm came down like a collapsing mountain. The force was world-shattering. Tang Xiao was slammed into a tall building. It crumbled and collapsed over him. Dust and smoke filled the air. Tang Xiao coughed blood. 17 or 18 of his bones were broken, and he lay in the rubble, barely moving. He struggled to his feet, fear in his eyes. Qian Xunan's palm had nearly killed him. If it struck again, he might die where he stood, and yet he would not yield. "I'll fight you to the death. I will kill you." Tang Xiao roared, summoning another terrifying gale of power that swept sand and debris all around. Qian Xunan's lips curved coldly. He vanished and reappeared before Tang Xiao, forming an immense sword of light in his hand. The sword descended like thunder and lightning, a single strike of absolute devastation. Tang Xiao reacted, lifting the battered remains of his Clear Sky hammer to resist. The hammer, though sturdy, snapped cleanly in two under that blade of light. The force tore through Tang Xiao. He coughed blood and was flung backward, his clothes in tatters. He crashed into a wall and spat more blood. Qian Xunan's attack had pierced straight through Tang Xiao's heart. He died there, collapsing where he had fought so desperate and vainly. End of this chapter. Chapter 151, Ruthless Slaughter. After Tang Xiao's death, Tang San was torn apart by grief. Bound by Qian Xunan, he roared, voice raw, "Qian Xunan, you're not human! You demon, I will kill you in the name of justice, Justice," Qian Xunan sneered. "Enough with your sanctimony. I think I finally understand. Someone like you can even fool himself." He looked coldly at Tang San, then asked, "So, whose turn is next?" Tang San's companions, Dai Mubai and Juju King, were dead. Ma Hongjun was gone too. Only Oscar, Ning Rongrong, and Xiao Wu remained. Qian Xunan's eyes immediately found Oscar and Ning Rongrong. Neither was built for offense. The two were support spirit masters, but their buffs had given Spirit Hall endless headaches. With a casual motion, he freed Oscar and Ning Rongrong from their restraints. They turned to the battlefield and froze. Only Tang San and Qian Xunan could still move. Shock registered on their faces like a second wound. Qian Xunan met them calmly. "Your companions will all die in the end, but your support talents are useful. I'll give you a choice. Join me or die." His tone was utterly indifferent. Oscar and Ning Rongrong's expressions hardened. They exchanged a look full of fury. Oscar laughed bitterly. "Are you trying to humiliate us?" Qian Xunan's smile was cold. "Humiliate? No, you're not worth the trouble of humiliation. It's just that killing you would be a small regret. Do you take us for cowards?" Oscar shot back, fury in his voice. "So you'll choose death?" Qian Xunan asked, still unreadable. Ning Rongrong spoke up, voice trembling but defiant. "Qian Xunan, Oscar and I have received the inheritance of the nine-colored goddess and the food god. If you kill us, you'll anger the god realm. They won't let you get away with this." Qian Xunan glanced at her as if amused by a child's tantrum. "The god realm won't spare me anymore. What does it matter what you say now?" Ning Rongrong opened her mouth but fell silent. She couldn't think of an answer. Qian Xunan's face remained indifferent. "Very well. If you insist, die for your justice." He waved his massive hand. A terrifying force wrapped around Oscar and Ning Rongrong like black silk. They struggled, faces blanching as the power crushed them. There was no escape from Qian Xunan's grasp. "Ah!" Their screams tore through the air. Bang! Both bodies exploded into dust, scattering through the world. Tang San felt as if his chest was ripped out. He stood there as if seeing his heart swallowed whole. Blood tears tracked down his face. Fury flared into a wild, burning thing. He clenched his fists until his knuckles whitened, veins standing out like cords. "I will never let you go. I swear I will kill you and avenge my friends." Qian Xunan turned his gaze to Tang San's beloved, Xiao Wu. "If I'm not mistaken, she's the one you care about most, isn't she? Please, don't kill her. Don't," Tang San shrieked, frantic, but Qian Xunan paid him no heed. He launched himself toward Xiao Wu. "Tang San, you'll die a terrible death." Tang San roared back, a tornado of grief. "If you harm her, I'll leave you without a grave." A murderous aura erupted from Tang San like a living thing. All at once, he surged forward, stomping, roaring, his body a cannonball aimed straight at Qian Xunan. In the span of a heartbeat, he closed the distance, and his fist rocketed toward Qian Xunan's head. This blow carried destructive power far beyond his prior attacks, more than 10 times stronger. The air itself seemed to split when the fist struck. Qian Xunan raised a hand and blocked it with a casual movement. "Tang San, you shameless coward, I'm going to kill you myself." Tang San bellowed, every syllable tearing out of him. He attacked relentlessly. His boxing was brutal. Where his fist chi passed, the space was shredded as if cut by blades. "Kill," he cried, eyes white with fury, charging like a beast. Qian Shunan's face was ice. With utter contempt, he struck out with both palms. Boom, boom, boom. Each of Qian Shunan's blows sent Tang San sprawling. He coughed blood, crimson staining his lips. Still he surged back up, face mottled with blood and grief, charging again and again. When Tang San smashed into him the next time, Qian Xunan merely shifted his palm a little and met the incoming fist head-on. Their attacks collided in midair with an earth-shaking explosion. Rumble. Qian Xunan looked at Tang San flatly. "Even with this strength, you don't make me use my all." At that instant, Qian Shunan's angel time, his special ability, expired. Everyone who had been frozen could move again. They stared in disbelief at the scene. The powerful titled Douluo who had stood among them were gone. Only Tang San remained alive. "Third brother, what's happened?" Xiao Wu darted to Tang San's side. Tang San forced a bitter smile and shook his head. Boss Dai and the others, he killed them. Xiao Wu's face crumpled in a way that words couldn't reach. Qian Xunan regarded Tang San with the same cold ease and said, "Don't waste your grief. Soon you'll all be dead." With that, he charged Tang San once more. "Even if I become a ghost," Tang San snarled, "I won't let you go." The sea god trident flashed in Tang San's hand. Qian Xunan glanced at it and struck with a palm. The two forces met. Impact tore through the surroundings, smashing everything like dried weeds. Shockwaves hurled Tang San back. His chest caved in, and he spat blood. Pfft! A thin trickle of crimson hung at his lips. Qian Xunan increased the force in his palm. Bang! Tang San was blasted away again and hit the ground hard, coughing up blood, body heaving. "Third brother," Xiao Wu cried out and threw herself to Tang San's side. He forced himself to his knees, wincing with pain, then looked at her and managed to whisper, "Xiao Wu, don't mind me. I'm unwilling, so unwilling." Chapter 152, Another Suicide Pact. At that moment, the angelic sacred sword's bindings were lifted, and all the titled Douluo of Spirit Hall were freed of their restrictions. The danger that had pressed down on them evaporated. Everyone looked up at the sky, and when they saw Qian Shunan's figure, they immediately understood what had happened. "In the end, it was the Supreme Pontiff who saved us," murmured Gold Crocodile Douluo. "That's right," Azure Luan Douluo said. "With Sunan intervening, there's nothing he can't do. Even if Tang San becomes a god, he probably wouldn't be Sunan's match." Light Feather Douluo added, "Exactly." The Spirit Hall forces hurriedly withdrew to their side, and the rest of the Spirit Hall army followed. The Heaven Do Empire troops were stunned into confusion. Shui Bang stood frozen, eyes wide. What had just happened? Hadn't they been on the brink of victory? Where had all those titled Douluo, the Shrek Seven Devils, Grand Tutor Tang Xiao, Sword Douluo, Bone Douluo, gone? High in the air, Tang San, badly injured, stood before Xiao Wu and said desperately, "Xiao Wu, go! Leave now!" Xiao Wu shook her head. Qian Xunan condensed a golden sacred sword in his hand and struck down at Tang San. Endless true sun fire radiated from the blade, instantly wrapping Tang San in the blaze. Tang San searched for escape, but found none. Blood shot into his eyes, determination hardening his expression. He looked at Xiao Wu and said again, hoarse and firm, "Xiao Wu, go now!" "No, third brother, I can't abandon you," Xiao Wu cried. Tang San took a deep breath and narrowed his eyes. "Go. If you don't, I won't be able to protect you." Then his body flared, transforming into a ball of flame. The fire exploded, fragments of burning light scattering outward like rain and blotting out the sky. "Third brother." Xiao Wu began to cry. "Don't be foolish. Go." Tang San shouted. He was not dead. Using the sea god power, he poured the ocean's force into the sea god trident. He raised the trident to the sky and roared, "Even if I'm gravely injured, I will kill you." The sea god trident unleashed an enormous surge of seawater. A terrifying torrent rushed at Qian Xunan and engulfed him. Qian Xunan struck out and shattered the monstrous wave, then felt an overwhelming suction pulling at him, as though the trident wanted to draw him right onto its tip. "The sea god trident is indeed extraordinary," he said coldly, eyes sweeping over it. "Worthy of the legends." "Sea god's wrath!" Tang San's voice thundered, and a towering wave, like a silk bolt carrying crushing pressure, cleaved toward Qian San's head. Qian Xunan stepped across the void and dodged. His killing intent was plain as he turned on Tang San. "Do you still think you can resist?" He raised the sacred sword and slashed. Wherever the blade passed, the void fractured inch by inch into falling fragments, dust and debris stirred into a rolling storm. The single stroke made even the void tremble. Tang San's eyes steeled. He gripped the sea god trident and countered. The two forces collided with an ear-splitting boom. Energy spread like a prehistoric beast, annihilating all in its wake. Qian Xunan struck again, condensing solar power and flames into a single devastating blow that wrapped around Tang San. The impact sent Tang San flying. He crashed to the ground, coughing blood, his face drained of color. "Go to hell!" Qian Xunan snapped and unleashed another slash. The sword's fire washed over Tang San, and he could not resist it. "No!" Xiao Wu cried, eyes wide, tears streaming. Suddenly she appeared at Tang San's side, materializing out of thin air. She flung herself across him as a living shield. "Xiao Wu!" Tang San shouted. "Don't!" he called, but he did not try to turn her body aside. He let go of the golden trident and pulled her into his arms. The outcome could not be changed. He had done everything he could, expended every last ability. He had made a choice the moment he had flown out of Jialing Pass without putting Xiao Wu into his temporary space. If he died, Xiao Wu would never be able to live alone. He was the meaning of her existence. If she could live a little longer, she would still follow him. Better, he thought, to go to the underworld together than to be separated. At that instant, neither of them cared about the roaring angelic sacred sword descending to incinerate them. In their hearts, both of them thought the same words. Though we cannot be born in the same year, month, and day, we wish to die in the same year, month, and day. Boom. The angelic sacred sword pierced. That god-level strike hit without reserve. Even with Xiao Wu acting as a barrier, the blow could still have easily sliced through Tang San, who had no extra defenses left. As the blade entered Xiao Wu's back, a burst of intense red light flared out from her body, and for a moment it cut off the scorching true sun fire. From the ground, Shui Beng watched the scene. Alarm and a fierce determination flickered across his face. Seeing the two fall before him, he roared, "Kill them! Don't let them retreat!" The Heaven Dew Empire army surged forward in a frenzy. Qian Xunan raised the angelic sacred sword, and voice cold and sure, intoned, "Angel Law, Heavenly Firefall." At his command, clusters of true sun fire condensed in the sky and began to rain down from the 9 heavens. 153. Divine Punishment, Heavenly Fire Falls. The Heaven Dew Empire's army advanced like a black tide across the plain, armor clinking, long spears held ready. They were thickly massed, countless men, broad-shouldered and fierce-eyed. With every step, ripples of terrifying energy shivered through the air, making the very space hum. At the front, a 1,000,000-strong host pushed forward under the white-armored Marshal Gi Long, who bellowed, "Advance!" The soldiers answered in a thunderous chorus, eyes bright with battle fervor. The Heaven Dew ranks surged toward the Spirit Empire with a single-minded ferocity. "Kill!" they shouted, the roar of thousands threatening to rend the sky. But the Spirit Empire did not meet them with equal numbers. Qian Xunan stood alone before the oncoming host, the angelic sacred sword in his hand, summoning a river of true sun fire. He whispered, "Angel Law, Skyfire Meteor." The air above condensed. True sunfire gathered into 1,000 blazing orbs that descended like meteors. They smashed into the Heaven Dew army from every direction, and pandemonium spread through the ranks. Skyfire Meteor was not an ordinary technique. It was the Skyfire Law incarnate. Where a meteor struck, the temperature soared beyond imagining. Soldiers were incinerated in an instant, flesh consumed and bone reduced to ash. Pools of blood seared and boiled. Screams dissolved in the crackling heat. The 1,000,000-strong army staggered into chaos. None had expected the Spirit Empire to wield such devastating power. "Divine punishment," some muttered, terror-struck. "How can one man oppose 1,000,000? Behind Qian Xunan, the meteor shower only intensified. Countless fireballs rained down like a second sun, each carrying destructive energy that rivaled a divine artifact. The Heaven Dew troops tried to flee, shouting, "Retreat! Fall back!" But the sky answered with another volley, and mushroom clouds erupted across the battlefield. Rivers of molten earth ran where the ground had liquefied under the heat, and the sea of soldiers thinned as bodies were wiped out in bulk. Those who survived the initial strikes fled in blind panic. Many were cut down mid-escape. Blown apart, their remains spread like blood mist across the field. Under Qian Xunan's control, the meteor storm never ceased. It fell in relentless sheets until the 1,000,000-strong host had been all but erased. In only a few dozen breaths, mountains of corpses littered the plain. Crimson stains and smoldering ash marked where formations had stood. The sight was barbaric, overwhelming, bodies heaped like ruined ramparts as far as the eye could see. There was no sanctuary. A thunderous blast would toss men into the air, and the blood that sprayed outward would flare into flame, consuming the wounded and the dying. Beneath the fall of those meteors, regiments crumbled like paper ants under a god's heel. Qian Xunan hung above the carnage, shrouded in golden flame, a figure of terrible majesty. As the last meteors plunged earthward, he raised his right hand. From his fingertips sprang a pillar of pure, blinding light that stabbed into the distant city wall. The ancient fortification, once thought immovable, shattered as if made of brittle clay, Stone and earth exploded outward, and the city was torn down to dust. The soldiers who had watched were transfixed. Horror and disbelief froze them where they stood. That wall had been their strongest defense, and yet it had been undone at a gesture. The protective formation that should have guarded the city had been rent and pulverized by the meteor's impact. Power like that left no room for hope. They tried to run, to put distance between themselves and Qian Xunan's reach, but the golden flame followed. He waved his hand and torrents of fire poured anew, engulfing lines of soldiers in instant conflagration. Like lambs driven to slaughter, men were consumed. Ash and bone floated in the scorched air. No resistance could hold against such methods. Xuebeng stood rooted, watching the slaughter with a horror that rose to a roar. "No," he bellowed, the sound torn from his chest. "How can this be? How could a single man halt my Heaven-Du Empire's million-strong army?" But there was no answer from the dead, no miracle to stem the tide of fire. The meteors kept falling, and the battlefield became a landscape of flame and ruin, a divine punishment raining from the heavens. 154. Two gods coexist. Each meteorite that fell struck like a bomb, detonating whole stretches of ground. There was no mercy. No one in those blasts survived. The earth was filled with endless screams, roars, and wails. High above it all, Qian Xunan watched with a cold, expressionless face. A terrifying aura clung to him, as if a demon god had descended. For a moment, the world seemed to drop into a dead hush. Under that boundless slaughter, Heaven-Du soldiers fell one after another by Qian Xunan's hand. Blood stained the sky and the land. At his urging, the ceaseless heavenly fire raged even fiercer, consuming the soldiers completely. In minutes, the battlefield had become a river of blood, flowing between heaven and earth, dyeing the ground red. Xuebeng sank to his knees, his whole body collapsing. "How could this be?" he murmured, disbelief and unwillingness tearing at him. "My empire, my army, are they to be destroyed like this?" He clenched his fists until his nails dug into his palms, eyes bloodshot. Tears formed, but he forced them back, refusing to yield to despair. The meteorites continued their charge like a relentless barrage. They smashed the city to rubble. Shrill screams burst into the sky. Under the falling stones, the Heaven-Du soldiers looked like straw men, blasted to ashes. In a few short minutes, they were annihilated. Then Qian Xunan felt a new, terrifying fluctuation emanate from the ground. He focused his gaze. It was Tang San and Xiao Wu who had just fallen. They clung to one another. Where moments before there had been a last resolve to die together, shock replaced it now. Tang San felt what he held in his arms had become a searing coal, hotter even than Qian Xunan's true sunfire. Xiao Wu felt something quite different. A cold aura long dormant within her had erupted like an ignition. An unprecedented explosion crawled across her skin. She lost all power to move. Red spread through Xiao Wu's body. In the blink of an eye, her clothes were gone, her form turning into something like glowing red metal. The dazzling radiance blurred Tang San's vision, but he would not let go. Even if she burned him to ash, he would hold her. A miraculous transformation unfolded before everyone at Jialing Pass. Under all eyes, Xiao Wu's crimson body began to merge into Tang San's, as if a strip of glowing red metal were being branded into him. Their powers intertwined, bursting into an uncontrollable, fiercely burning flame, beyond description. Little by little, Xiao Wu's body fused with Tang San's. The heat was so intense that even Tang San's sea god divine gear could not resist. It began to be filtered away. Xiao Wu's face was oddly serene, even joyful, as she watched herself sink into him. "Brother," she whispered. "Tang San, what, did you sacrifice yourself to me again?" He wanted to ask, but resistance was useless. His body felt immobile. Even the sea god relic on him crumbled, merging into him and disappearing. Half of Xiao Wu, her waist and legs, had already become one with him. The pain and the blaze were suffocating. "No, I'm already human. I can't sacrifice myself again. Brother, now I understand. Do you remember the Asura demon sword I absorbed back then? It didn't choose me to be its wielder. It chose me to be its scabbard." Scabbard, Tang San stared, puzzled. Before he could process the meaning, Xiao Wu opened her arms and wrapped them around his neck. Her scorching form, under an unbearable heat, melded utterly into him. A howl tore from Tang San as both pain and loss hit him. An aura of slaughter erupted from him like a storm. The red vortex that had circled them shattered, streams of red airflow pouring into Tang San. Everything within 1,000 meters turned blood red. Streaks of crimson light surged up from the earth and poured into his body. His form flashed with blue and red in alternation. Each burst sent a huge shockwave outwards. Oh, dual god positions? Now it gets interesting. Qian Xunan had barely finished speaking when Tang San's body convulsed violently, as if something inside were being shaken loose. The red and blue lights separated. A massive blue phantom rose behind him, while his main body had turned entirely red. The red armor was larger than any divine gear of sea god, angel god, or Rakshasa god. Its patterns were fiercer and more magnificent. In his hand, he held what looked like a huge hammer etched with demon motifs, molten and glowing, and it reformed into a 2-meter-long blade. Tang San's eyes were dark red. The blood-colored armor bristled with blades and spikes on every corner, radiating an oppressive power that completely suppressed Qian Xunan's previously overwhelming fighting spirit. This Tang San, Asura god Tang San, was more terrifying than any sea god manifestation. The blue phantom behind him was unmistakably Tang San's face, wearing the angel god's blue divine gear and holding a blue sea god trident. Though it wasn't his golden sea god state at full strength, the overlay of that figure behind the blood-red Tang San only intensified the pressure. Asura god Tang San raised his head slowly, his cold, blood-colored gaze fixed on Qian Xunan. "Surprised?" he said. "This is the perfect fusion of Xiao Wu and me, dual deities' coexistence." Qian Xunan's face remained composed. What is there to be surprised about? The sea god already revealed Asura's purpose. Perhaps I've been nudging you along all this time to force you to grow faster. Tang San asked, stunned. "Are you afraid? If I feared you, how could I face the challenges ahead? If I cannot defeat you, how can I ascend to the god realm?" Qian Xunan answered coldly. His angelic sacred sword pointed skyward. Surging angelic force erupted. True sunfire swept down, and with immense pressure he broke through once more. His body merged with the true sunfire, which flared across his angel wings, making him more fearsome than ever. "Qian Xunan, now that I have dual deities' coexistence, I will slay you," Tang San declared. Those 4 words, dual deities' coexistence, carried a weight beyond the mortal plane. To truly achieve such a fusion, even the true god realm rarely saw its like. An overwhelming, demonic Asura force slowly rippled from Tang San. Bibi and Qian Xunan could no longer see Jialing Pass itself. All that met their eyes was a sea of blood. The Asura demon sword rose slowly as Tang San's blood-red gaze followed the blade. In his heart, everything had become clear. Their ability to reach perfect fusion could not be repeated. Xiao Wu had once sacrificed herself to him and become part of him. When Tang San revived her, a spiritual connection remained because of that prior complete integration, a precursor for a full spirit fusion. The Asura demon sword, which had entered Xiao Wu's body, had brought with it the Asura energy and the trials Tang Chen, Tang San's great-grandfather, had endured. But Xiao Wu herself had never been recognized by the Asura god and could not command that force. That was why she had told Tang San she was the Asura demon sword's scabbard. A person can inherit only one god position. Yet with Xiao Wu's body as the fusion medium, Tang San's clear sky hammer became the key to draw out Asura divine force, while Xiao Wu's body served as the vessel for the Asura demon sword. The result, the Asura god's descent and the coexistence of dual deities. A faint light shimmered across Tang San's face. The Asura demon sword pointed forward, and demonic, blood-red light burst forth. Only the sea god phantom behind him was blue. "Slay me? Do you qualify?" Qian Shunan's voice was eerily calm. In this instant, he had forgotten life and death, victory and defeat. His angelic sense and transformed main body, the Sun Angel, reached a peak of synergy. The gigantic golden-red angel manifested like lightning before Asura god Tang San. "Then let's see," Tang San replied. His eyes were still as an ancient well. The Asura demon sword in his hand turned utterly blood-red, and a brilliant crimson radiance exploded outward. Boom! Swordlight met swordlight as Tang San's blood-colored blade struck Qian Xunan's angelic sacred sword head-on. The clash sent 2 terrifying forces shuddering through the air, pushing both combatants backward. Tang San did not pause for even a breath. He slashed downward with the Asura demon sword and spoke 4 cold words. "Asura, judgment." Qian Xunan answered in kind, raising his blade and shouting, Angel, verdict. 155. The Battle of Two Gods. Two rays of light, one red, one white, collided and erupted into a towering mushroom cloud. A terrifying shockwave radiated outward, obliterating everything in its path. Tang and Qian Xunan's attacks did not falter. If anything, they intensified. Under the scorching heat, buildings across the city buckled and collapsed. For a moment, the entire Jialing Pass seemed to be coming apart. The onlookers scattered, desperate to avoid getting caught in a fight far beyond mortal scope. After a tense standoff of only a few seconds, the two energies detonated, sending a violent blast in all directions that cracked the earth and raised choking dust. Two deities were locked in a dead heat. The air itself was saturated with raw power. Tang San's strikes were brutal, each one a direct threat to Qian Xunan. Qian Xunan wielded the angelic sacred sword, pouring out waves of searing flame to meet Tang San blow for blow. The sun angel at his side already looked as if it might collapse at any moment. Qian Xunan spun the angelic sacred sword, and a brilliant radiance erupted from it. In an instant, the world around them brightened as though day had broken. The dazzling light forced every observer to squint. A golden, hazy light shield then expanded, enveloping both deities and cutting off all external detection. The shield, condensed from true sunfire, repelled any divine probing. Under Qian Xunan's control, it tightened, wrapping his body in a sanctum. Two tremendous energies erupted, and a thunderous explosion rolled across the sky. Tang San spat blood from his chest. A trickle fled the corner of his mouth, testament to the brutal exchange. Still, he remained standing. The Asura demon sword in his hand flared, and a wild surge of Asura divine force poured forth. A massive black hole tore open, Asura domain. The Asura force swept like a storm, devouring at the edges of Qian Xunan's defenses. The demon sword trembled, as if eager to break free, and its sword intent roared outward. Even on the Jialing Pass city wall, people could feel the oppressive force pressing down on them. Tang San had finally unleashed the Asura domain, a technique he had cultivated but never used before, and he did not hesitate now. Qian Xunan's expression shifted. He drew a semicircle through the air with his sword, and a dense white radiance expanded, forcefully resisting the Asura invasion. Qian Xunan, you are strong, but I hold two god positions. Today I will kill you and take my revenge, Tang San said calmly. Qian Xunan snorted. Then let us try again. A circle of white light erupted from him as the angel god armor manifested, complete, 6 pieces gleaming. Tang San's demon sword darkened and ran blood red as Asura force swelled. Asura slash, he roared. The demon sword left a trail of afterimages. Each thrust carried the weight of a tidal wave of destruction. The Asura blade strikes did not possess refined elegance, but their raw violence outmatched Qian Xunan's defense. Qian Xunan drew on the power of the sky. His angelic sacred sword now contained not only true sunfire, but also the power of the stars, sun, moon, and stars working in concert. Each slash sent ripples through Tang San's weapon. At last, Qian Xunan broke through and raked the angelic sacred sword across Tang San's shoulder, shattering the Asura god armor. Tang San was hurled back with a roar, his body crashing into the ground and punching out a deep pit. Bones cracked and agony rattled through him. But he would not be laid low. The sea god power within him erupted, blue surges coalesced into a faint spectral trident, and the sea god trident swept out to strike Qian Xunan's head. Waves, endless and furious, launched toward his foe. Qian Xunan answered with a low roar, his wings beating hard. A golden sun rose behind him and cloaked him in light as he met the ocean's assault. The two deities collided again. Both took damage, but deities healed with a speed and robustness beyond mortal measure. Qian Xunan's angelic sacred sword repelled the seawater, and he charged once more. Tang San flicked his wrist. The Asura demon sword went pitch dark and then dark purple, a binding aura wrapping it. He understood how far he still had to go. Still, he had to win. He thought of his slain parents and wiped out clan. That hatred was his engine. His pupils bled red, the 8 wings of the sea god unfurled behind him, streaks of blood-red light coiling about his body. The demon sword turned fully blood red. At the peak of his resolve, Tang San's mind narrowed to a single purpose: revenge. Kill, he spat, swinging the demon sword in a furious arc. Thunder cracked across the heavens, and for a heartbeat the world seemed to lose color. The golden light around the angelic sacred sword dimmed, as if drawn by some other force, and the angelic projection vanished. Tang San's Asura domain intensified. The clash overhead painted fire and shadow across the sky. True sunfire burned hotter with each meeting, pressing against the Asura blade, but under the Asura god's amplification, Tang San's aura only grew stronger. The Asura demon sword surged back with even fiercer force. Boom after boom of ear-splitting explosions rocked the air. Each collision burst with blinding brilliance. Tang San's clothes shredded, his skin seeping blood, but he planted his feet beneath his own sword and would not yield. Qian Xunan felt pressure like none he had known. Even when he had slain the sea god, he had not felt such intensity. Tang San's right arm had blackened. The sea god trident's transformed form on his left had turned a deep, bruised purple. That hue pulsed and lifted his aura higher still. Fueled entirely by revenge, Tang San ignored pain and fear. Only slaughter could drain the hatred that drove him. Wave after wave of Asura-infused strikes battered Qian Xunan even as true sunfire burned on the angelic sacred sword, the king of angels' power. Their battle blackened the sky. Lightning and thunder danced across a battlefield that seemed to fray the very world. The God Realm gate remained open and silent above them, an indifferent archway through which their fight raged. Qian Xunan's body trembled, and his true sunfire flared wildly. He had perceived danger. Tang San did not flinch. A dark red light swelled along his blade. Qian Xunan spread his wings and lunged like a falling star. The angelic sword screamed into the Asura blade. Tang San's eyes burned crimson as their swords braided together, a storm of golden flames that made it feel as if heaven and earth might shatter. Dark clouds thickened overhead, silver lightning coiling like serpents through broken gaps in the sky. The world teetered on the edge of collapse. With a clean, ringing clang, the angelic sacred sword recoiled. The Asura demon sword did not pause. It continued to cleave toward Qian Xunan with unstoppable momentum. The angelic sword rose again to meet it, but Tang San's force now eclipsed anything it had faced before. With a grunt, Qian Xunan was shoved back, stumbling several steps before regaining his balance. A faint smile curved his lips. "Dual god positions," he said coldly, looking Tang San in the eye. "You truly are a fine stepping stone." 156. Gods and Demons. Qian Xunan facing death. "Are you still so confident?" Tang San hovered high above, looking down at Qian Xunan. Qian Xunan met his gaze calmly. "Oh, so you've decided to kill me today?" Tang San exploded. "Qian Xunan, those who commit countless injustices deserve to perish. You murdered my father, killed my master, slaughtered my companions, wiped out my clansmen, instigated war, brought ruin to the continent, and slaughtered so many innocents. Today I will end you. Remember this, evil can never triumph over justice. I will be justice's instrument and put you down." Tang San's eyes turned holy blood red. His aura went feral. A crimson mist wrapped his form. "Qian Xunan, I will kill you today and use your head to offer tribute to the dead," he roared. Red and blue lights erupted over his body, coiling around him in streaks as his momentum surged. He drew in the ambient elemental energy. The Asura domain and Sea God domain bloomed at once, and a faint blood-red sheen flickered across his irises. The smile on Qian Xunan's face faded as he suddenly realized the Sea God power within Tang San had become even more terrifying. The Asura demon sword in Tang San's hand had gone dark red. The sky dimmed and an oppressive weight settled over the battlefield. Crimson light began to congeal. Tang San lifted his head to the roiling clouds overhead. The killing intent in his eyes turned ice cold. He knew he was ready. The moment he had waited years for had come. "Dual divinity slash," Tang San intoned. Instantly, energy flooded the Asura demon sword. The dark red light flared explosively. Circles of dark red ripples spread outward, racing straight for Qian Xunan. The Asura demon sword's innate sharpness magnified 100-fold. Wrapped in that dark red halo, the space across the battlefield grew viscous. This strike was no ordinary blow, but the release of a unique ability, a new divine technique born when Tang San fused the godhoods of the Asura god and the Sea God. Qian Xunan watched, unflinching. As a supreme powerhouse, he sensed the terror contained in that attack, but he showed no fear. "Tang San," he murmured, taking a steady breath, "do you really think only you can merge the power of two divinities?" A cold light flashed in Tang San's eyes. He focused, unblinking. wanting to hear what Qian Xunan would say. White feathers fluttered from Qian Xunan as his angel wings retracted. A strange light ignited in his gaze, and his body transformed into a streak of dazzling light. Black radiance began to roll over him. Black and white light swirled together around his form. Even the ethereal angel wings darkened into inky blackness, giving his handsome features an eerie, terrifying cast. Dark angel? Tang San whispered, shocked. The black and white lights merged. Tang San felt Qian Xunan's life force surge to an unprecedented height. His power leapt to a new plateau. Qian Xunan had released the dark angel martial soul, but not by fully retracting the angel martial soul. He had released both the dark angel and the angel martial souls simultaneously. Tang San's surprise deepened. How is this possible? How can you release two spirits at once? From the mingled lights, Qian Xunan stepped forth. If you can have two god positions coexist, he asked, why can't I have two spirits coexist? The light around him shattered into starlight that hung in the air. When it cleared, his armor was no longer purely gold, but interwoven in black and gold. He spread his arms, and the wings on his back unfurled, 12 in all, alternating black and gold. His entire bearing had shifted. He looked like a fusion of god and demon. Solitude and loneliness filled his gaze. Tiny whirlpools swirled in his eyes. Though still human in form, his aura had become alien. Tang San's pupils constricted. He had never expected Qian Xunan to do something so shocking. He had integrated the power of two divinities within his human body, without inheriting any divinity's trope. He had done what Tang San himself had done by different means. Qian Xunan's voice was cold. Tang San, your talent is undeniable. You are the world's favored son, reaching your level with little opposition, but it won't save you. Even if you are the chosen one, I will still slay you. If divinities stand in my way, I will slay divinities. If heaven stands in my way, I will cut down heaven. An ancient, godlike demonic aura burst from him. An unparalleled momentum radiated outward, rattling the battlefield. Black and white flames danced around his 12 wings. Driven by that soul pressure, a massive black orb of light drifted into being. Tiny lights circled inside it. Cracks raced across its surface, as if it might shatter at any moment. Tang San's brow twitched. The force of this strike was like nothing he'd anticipated. How can this be? He thought. Is this real? Disbelief flashed across his face. He stared at Qian Xunan with a growing dread, then steeled himself and shouted, so what if you've merged two divinities? My power comes from divine inheritance, a consecration across infinite years. You're only cultivating power yourself. How could you compare to me? I am a divinity, Qian Xunan replied, icily proud. A divinity who inherits two god positions. Today I represent the gods, and I will slay you. Tang San's gathered sword strike descended. Red and blue light poured together into an immense sword beam over 1,000 meters long, slicing a straight path through the sky toward Qian Xunan. Qian Xunan smiled. Then I will play along. Black and white light converged and painted the firmament. Elements across the battlefield went wild. The sky seemed to fracture and the land to shudder. Black light devoured, white light tore, two opposing energies collided, erupting into blinding chaos. Clouds swelled wildly for thousands of miles. The dense black and white glare banished the sun in that section of sky. A silver-gray thunderbolt cracked, and sonic waves rippled, making the ears of everyone on the field ring. Qian Xunan extended a hand and the god-slaying spear manifested. It had changed, interwoven black and red, with condensed golden angel power along its shaft and terrifying flames licking its tip. The shaft itself was a deep black purple that seemed to hold a universe within. The hilt had become a glittering golden dragon head. God-slaying, Qian Xunan intoned, his voice carrying absolute dominion. Immediately, the battlefield's elemental balance dissolved. The five elements fractured into countless energy forms that collided chaotically. Attacks of every attribute converged in his direction. He tapped the spear and unleashed a torrent of spear beams that struck Tang San's sword beam in midair. Boom, boom. Explosions after explosions rocked the world. Aftershocks tore across the land. A corner of the battlefield was blasted to ruin, and a mountain peak turned to dust. Energy ripples exploded outward from the two figures, annihilating everything they touched and leaving void where landscape once stood. Heaven and earth trembled, as if on the brink of collapse. Blood sprayed. Tang San's face flickered with pain as he was thrown backward, horror and disbelief in his eyes. Even after merging two godhoods, he was still outmatched by Qian Xunan. What kind of monster was his opponent? How could he possibly prevail? Qian Xunan stepped forward and stood before Tang San. Looking down, he said, "Tang San, the game is over." 157, God of the Sky. Qian Shunan's god-slaying spear flared with terrifying bands of black and white light, sweeping out in a wild arc as it chased the retreating Tang San, intent on finishing him. Tang San suddenly stopped. A golden halo burst from his body, and the light instantly restored control to the Tang sect Stamsuyu, titled Douluo around him. They shot into the air and took the brunt of the spear's force. Tang San closed his eyes. His right fist clenched. His robe fluttered, though there was no wind. Golden sigils coiled around him, and a faint glow rose from his skin. A golden scale of armor formed, shimmering with light. The change transformed his entire bearing. Trident armor, a dragon head helm, a massive golden trident in hand, twin great golden wings spread behind him. He looked like a living god. The god-slaying spear reached him, but Tang San did not try to dodge. He met it head-on with the trident. The spear and the trident rang together in a crisp clang. But Qian Xunan had already been completely reborn. His spear was a divine artifact. In a clash of divine tools, Tang San, even shod in divine armor, could not hold equal. Golden light scattered everywhere. Tang San grunted, his body slammed backward and only stopped on the far slope of a hill. Qian Xunan hovered still, calm as ever, but the pressure radiating from him made the air itself feel constricting. Was this still the Qian Xunan once hailed as the strongest expert on the Douluo Continent? His aura swelled to the point Tang San could not even be certain of his exact cultivation level. He could only sense an incomparable force thundering within Qian Xunan. Tang San's eyes narrowed. He had already felt Qian Shunan's power rise past his own. The enemy raised the god-slaying spear again. The energy around him intensified. He pointed the spear at Tang San. His form blurred. Deep breaths exhaled from Qian Xunan as he roared, "Die!" The sky darkened. No, it was the golden radiance erupting from the spear blotting out the heavens. A massive sun formed at the spear's tip, scorching heat rippling the air and a viscous heaviness thickening the space around it. A roaring sound issued from the weapon as the golden sun swelled, swallowing half the sky. The heat seemed intent on burning everything away. Time stilled. Qian Xunan, spear in hand, towered above like a devil god surveying the land. Was this his ultimate strength? His greatest power? The golden sphere detonated, blinding light poured down, and everything caught within its radius charred and evaporated, the vegetation, even the magma lake at the Earth's core. Under that crushing force, Tang San was launched upward again and then slammed into the ground, punching out a crater over 100 meters deep. He spat blood, then propped himself up with shaking hands and forced himself to float in the air. Qian Xunan still hovered, spear held proudly, a victor's smile on his face. Tang San looked up. Dirt stained his once handsome face. A great hole gaped in his chest where the spear had pierced him. He lifted his right arm, slick with blood, and wiped the blood from his mouth. "Qian Xunan, I won't believe it. I won't believe you're invincible. I will kill you." Tang San howled. At that cry, the powers of the sea god and the Asura god erupted in tandem. His black hair flared to red like living flames. His frame swelled until he became a towering, burly giant clad in trident armor. His skin turned translucent and dazzling gold. His eyes glowed pure gold. The trident blazed in one hand, in the other he held the Asura god's sword. A blue crystal at the sword's hilt lit up fully as the blue-silver emperor's spirit surged back into him, inflating his already hulking form. With a single sweep, the Asura god sword slashed, carving a brilliant beam of light toward Qian Xunan. Qian Xunan snorted and swung his spear in a horizontal arc. The golden flash struck Tang San's trident, a thunderous roar followed, and numinous light burst into a shower of stars. Tang San was hurled again, crashing into a distant mountain forest. Qian Xunan's strikes were titanic. His very spear seemed the sun itself, eclipsing lesser light. Floating above, Qian Xunan looked down coldly. "The sea god commands the ocean. Now I will show you the power of the universe." His spear began to draw in the limitless energy of stars and space. The air around him warped. His body swelled until in the blink of an eye he towered over 5,000 meters tall. His eyes remained closed, but the sun brightened as if the whole sky were being gilded. Golden lightning rained down from that sun, dense shafts of gilded thunder filling the heavens. Each bolt carried the purest condensation of heaven and earth energy, distilled from boundless cosmic power. This was Qian Xunan's comprehension, the god of the sky. The sky itself was his domain. Pierce Xiaowu, pierce Xiaowu. The star's power gathered relentlessly around the god-slaying spear in Qian Xunan's hand. His aura swelled, golden halos rippling across his form. Even from a distance, the terrifying fluctuations of energy were palpable. His body began to change. Golden patterns ignited along his wings, each sigil radiating an instinctive sense of doom. It was a majesty beyond mortal life. His eyelids trembled twice and slowly opened. The instant they lifted, a bolt of golden lightning struck down, and the sun in the sky fractured. The blaze dimmed the heavens themselves, as if the world stood at the edge of annihilation. The golden light broke into innumerable needle-like shards that swarmed toward Tang. Though small, each was razor-sharp, like countless metallic cones driven by absolute force. The endless power of the cosmos had converged on Qian Xunan's spear. The god-slaying spear seemed to become the world's core, its metallic sheen intensifying. The golden radiance formed a heavenly tribulation. No skill, no trickery, only raw, unchallengeable might. Qian Xunan had fashioned his heaven and earth judgment by imposing the elements with his divine sense, a power far beyond what ordinary spirit masters could withstand. As he brandished the spear, the falling needles arranged themselves in the air like a scroll, a terrible work of art. Tang San's eyes went completely crimson. A thick blood mist saturated the gold behind him. Gripping the Asura god sword, he surged forward like a phoenix reborn, the trident point of his will driving straight into that celestial scroll. Ding, ding, ding! Collisions rang out endlessly as golden light met golden blade. Each strike sent staggering ripples of energy across the battlefield. The Asura god sword repeatedly intercepted the piercing shards, but they seared him, sparking flames along his body. He was pushed back step by step. His steps became dreamlike, as though each collision rebounded off his very soul. Kill! Qian Xunan's spear descended with infinite intent, transforming into countless spear rays that sealed Tang San on all sides, cutting off every escape. Tang San stared at the net of light with helpless terror. He didn't know how he could survive. When the blazing golden sun loomed before his vision again, the world itself seemed drenched in gold. He accelerated the swing of his Asura god sword until he was a blur of afterimages, pouring out energy without restraint. In that storm of power, only one golden figure was clear. Endless force crashed into Tang San. His cry of pain tore the air. On his skin, the golden-red scales burst, revealing white bone beneath. Golden-red blood spurted. In the next instant, Xiaowu's figure was ripped apart by that terrible force. "Xiaowu!" Tang San screamed. Qian Xunan advanced with ruthless calm. He stepped between them and thrust his spear upward, driving it through Xiaowu. "No!" Tang San roared desperately, but his body was already shredded by the assault. He could do nothing. The spear slid through Xiaowu's chest with a sick, wet sound. Blood sprayed. A ragged hole opened in her breast. Ah! Tang San's eyes were wild and bloodshot. He howled as tears poured down his face. Then, in a horror that hollowed him out, Xiaowu's body dissolved into specks of golden light within the shaft of the spear. "No, Xiaowu, you can't die! Don't die!" He stood frozen, watching the light twinkle and vanish. It felt as if his heart were being torn by 1,000 needles. Tears came in hot, choked streams, splattering the ground and mingling with the iron tang of her blood. His limbs trembled. He wanted, desperately, to reach for her, to hold her warmth, but his hand stopped midair, as if gripped by an invisible force. Pain clenched his chest into shards. Helplessness burned through him, until every memory blurred into agony. Images flooded him. Gentle smiles, soft embraces, the simple, intimate moments with Xiaowu. Each recollection stabbed at him more painfully than the last. He wanted to go back, to undo this, to begin again, but fate had been merciless. His knees buckled, and he crumpled to the ground. His fingers clawed into his palms until they hurt. His lips trembled with a silent keening only he could hear. He felt his being split open, colored in desolate red, all meaning drained away. The world shuddered to a cold void. Pain was his only companion. Qian Xunan had no pity. He came close again, spear lifted, the tip aimed at Tang San's brow, ready to finish him. Die! He drove the spear forward, but a thunderous rent ripped open the sky. A golden gateway tore the heavens apart and appeared between Qian Xunan and his intended blow, its light blinding. A voice echoed out from beyond the gate. Bold mortal, Tang San is both sea god and asura god, a dual divinity. How dare a mere mortal attempt to slay a god? Chapter 159, Unify the Continent. A golden portal tore open in the sky, radiating a terrifying divine might. The gate swung wider, and figures loomed in the heavens. Qian Xunan, you dare slay one of our god realm? Do you know the crime you've committed? A voice thundered down. Qian Xunan gave a cold snort. I said I will kill Tang San today. If gods stand in my way, I will slay gods. If Buddhas stand in my way, I will slay Buddhas. With that, he drove the god-slaying spear in his hand mercilessly toward Tang San. The gods erupted in fury. Auras burst forth, the very space warping under the pressure. A brilliant golden orb of light flashed and shot at Qian Xunan. He did not flinch. With a casual flick of his spear, he sent the orb spinning aside, but then the air around him shuddered. Thunder rolled through the sky as pillars of light multiplied and thickened. Golden chains condensed from nothing and coiled about him. Qian Shunan's eyes burned with fury. He swung the god-slaying spear like a streak of lightning, meeting the heaven-spun chains. Explosions rocked the firmament. Though surrounded, he maintained the advantage. After driving back the god's assaults, he turned his spear toward Tang San, who stood with despair carved into his features. Qian Xunan regarded him without a flicker of pity. Die, he said. In an instant, he shot upward like a streak of light. A colossal god-slaying spear split the void, carrying a murderous force that slammed into Tang San. Qian Shunan's strength was overwhelming. Tang San had no means of resisting. He watched the spear come at him, pupils pinched with terror, and knew with absolute certainty that resistance was futile. With a deafening impact, the spear pierced Tang San's body and stole his life. His form convulsed. He could only look on as the spear was ripped free and the life in him drained away. The pressure of that weapon even tore at his soul, scattering it. Even Tang San's double god positions could not save him. He died by Qian Shunan's hand. The gods above could only look on in helplessness. They could not intervene. All they could do was retreat and close the god realm portal. Qian Xunan watched the sky without comment. To him it was clear. This had been Asura God's plan, and Tang San nothing more than a pawn. If Asura God had truly wished to protect him, he would have descended. Instead, he sent minor agents to obstruct from the heavens, mere intimidation. Tang San had been expendable. Asura, Qian Xunan said quietly, if you are unwilling to come down this time, then we will meet in the God realm. Then he turned his gaze to the surviving troops of the Heaven Do Empire. Kill them. Flatten the Heaven Do Empire. 2/3 of the Heaven Do forces had already been incinerated by Qinan's heavenly fire. The rest were scattered and broken, no match for the Spirit Empire's army. The Spirit Empire's cavalry swept down like an iron tide. Screams and the clash of steel filled the air. Heaven Do City was shattered. The long foundations of its civilization, built over ages, crumbled in an instant. Qian Xunan hovered amid the ruin, spear angled at the sky, eyes set like stone. Under his command, the Spirit Empire troops swarmed through the streets, slaughtering everyone in their path. Killing cries rose and never ceased. Inside the city, people who had long lain frozen with fear finally snapped to desperate resistance, but it was meaningless. The massacre unfolded with horrific inevitability. Countless corpses fell, the earth soaked red with blood. Xuebeng watched the carnage and fell to his knees with a thud. He had no power to change the outcome. The Heaven Do Empire had been broken. In the end, he met a tragic death beneath the Spirit Empire's iron cavalry. The Heaven Do Empire was no more. The rest of the continent, especially the Star Luo Empire, reeled in shock. No one had imagined the Heaven Do Empire would be annihilated overnight, much less in such fashion. After crushing Heaven Do, Qian Xunan turned his spear toward the Star Luo Empire. The Star Luo rulers offered little resistance. Envoys were dispatched the next day to seek terms. Qian Shunan's demand was simple and absolute. The Spirit Empire must fully annex the Star Luo Empire, or face war. The Star Luo Great Emperor, knowing he had no hope against the Spirit Empire, accepted the terms. He abdicated and retired into a quiet, powerless old age. Not long after, the Spirit Empire formally absorbed the Star Luo Empire. With Heaven Do and Star Luo subsumed, the Spirit Empire had effectively unified the entire continent. Qian Xunan moved quickly to solidify his rule. He issued decrees standardizing the written language, then abolished the old city-state system. Every settlement, from hamlet to capital, would be governed by spirit halls, administrative organs operated by spirit masters that replaced the traditional city lords. He also established a spirit examination system. Victors in spirit competitions could join the spirit halls. As a spirit master's rank rose, they could be promoted to higher-level halls. The spirit hall system knitted the continent together under a single structure, and Qian Xunan stood at its head as ruler of the whole land. In the golden main hall, Qian Renshui came before him. "Uncle," she saluted. "Xiaoshui," Qian Xunan replied. Qian Renshui bowed, then met his eyes. "Uncle, now that the continent is unified, I wish to leave the Douluo Continent and go to the God realm." Qian Xunan studied her for a long moment. "Have you thought this through?" She nodded without hesitation. "Yes, I want to see a higher world. 160. The realm of gods is in turmoil." Qian Xunan looked at Qian Renshui at once and said, "No, it's not time for you to leave yet." "Why?" Qian Renshui asked, puzzled. Qian Xunan replied, "Do you know what the God realm is like? Even with a divine position inheritance, can you guarantee you'll be safe there? The Asura god is our enemy now. He's the enforcer in the God realm. If you go up there now, you'll only be walking into Asura's trap." Qian Renshui frowned. "I'm the god of angels, an actual divinity in the God realm. Surely the Asura god wouldn't openly break the laws and dare harm me?" "What he won't do openly, he might do in secret," Qian Xunan said. Qian Renshui went quiet for a moment, considering. "Xiaoshui," Qian Xunan continued softly, "our best option is to lay low in the lower realm for a while, plan carefully, and then act. Besides, I need to start my plan to make gods. To challenge the God realm, it's not enough to have just us. I intend to awaken the potential in the 6 great consecrated elders, turn them into gods." Qian Renshui listened and then nodded. Over the following days, Qian Xunan set about the preparations to elevate the 6 great consecrated elders. They didn't possess divinity inheritances, so even if they became what he called gods, they could at best break through to the Limit Douluo realm like Qianhan. True ascension to the God realm would remain out of reach. God realm. God realm Law Enforcement Committee meeting chamber. Many divinities had gathered, all eyes on the Asura god, who sat with a measured, calm expression. "Lord Asura," one divinity said angrily, "that Qian Xunan is intolerable. A mere mortal dares oppose us divinities. We can't let such arrogance go unpunished." "Yes, please give the order at once so we can descend to the lower realm and kill him," another urged. The food god and the 9-colored goddess knelt before Asura. "Lord Asura, Qian Xunan slew our successors. You must mete out justice," they pleaded. The phoenix god and the war god stood to the side, faces hard. Though they had not yet chosen successors, they had favored Ma Hongjun and Dai Mubai, both of whom were now dead, which in effect meant their hope for successors had been killed as well. Asura lifted a hand to quiet them. "Everyone, do not be impulsive. I know what happened in the lower realm has caused deep grief. Am I not grieving as well?" He looked away for a moment. "The inheritor I lost held both the sea god and Asura positions. I intended for him to come to the God realm and help restrain destruction. Now that seems impossible. Then what are we to do? Stand by while Qian Xunan goes unpunished?" A divinity asked, glaring. Asura's expression grew grave. "You all know destruction's goal. If we now throw all our strength into taking down Qian Xunan in the lower realm, destruction will seize the opportunity to exploit our distraction and usurp power here. We cannot act rashly." "So what then?" the war god demanded. Asura considered, then continued, "Destruction will certainly seek to win Qian Xunan over, but with Qian Xunan's temperament, he will never submit to destruction. They will not reach an agreement. When they clash, Qian Xunan can be used to restrain destruction." He fixed them with a calm gaze. "I know you all bear resentment, and I will not dismiss those feelings. But right now, our primary threat is destruction. We must focus on that." Back in the lower realm, Everything seemed to be proceeding smoothly for Qian Xunan and his circle, until a few uninvited guests burst into Spirit Hall. 3 figures descended from the sky. Leading them was an extraordinarily beautiful woman whose revealing attire left much skin exposed. Her fair flesh peeked between fabrics, and a potent aura of seduction clung to her every movement. She wore black stockings and high heels, a teasing smile on her lips. Her gestures oozed temptation, every look calibrated to beguile. To her left stood a burly man, all muscle and rough angles, who carried a huge hunk of meat and gnawed at it as he walked. To her right was another man slumped cross-legged on a drifting cloud, already sound asleep. The trio landed at Spirit Hall. The guards snapped to attention. "Who goes there? How dare you trespass on Spirit Hall?" one shouted. The 3 chuckled softly and then rushed in before anyone could react. In an instant, the guard's head hit the floor and his body crumpled. The surrounding guards stared, stunned. The 3 scanned the hall with disdain and swept toward the main chamber. "Who dares intrude on my Spirit Hall?" a voice boomed. Qian Xunan stepped out from the depths of Spirit Hall and appeared before them. He studied the trio with an unruffled expression. These were divinities, no doubt about it. "Who are you?" he asked calmly. The woman fixed him with a coquettish look, lips curving. "Why is the Supreme Pontiff so impatient? Allow this humble one to help you calm down first," she purred. Qian Xunan raised an eyebrow. "So you're my enemies?" The woman smiled wider, syrupy and dangerous. No, you're being hasty. I am the god of lust, a subordinate of Lord Destruction." Qian Xunan's eyes flickered at the name. After a brief pause, he said, "Destruction?" She inclined her head. "Yes, the big one who keeps sleeping is the god of sloth, and the meat-eating fellow is the god of gluttony. We're not here to fight you. Lord Destruction sent us to welcome the Supreme Pontiff." Qian Xunan regarded her coolly. "Why does Destruction want to see me?" The god of lust let a trace of charm ripple through her smile. "Lord Destruction wishes to meet the legendary genius from the lower realm, the one capable of slaying dual god positions." Qian Xunan's expression didn't change. "If Destruction wants to see me, why doesn't he come in person? Does he expect me to go to him?"